All right, hi Mark. Thanks for meeting with me again.
Yeah.
This is going to be one of our last meetings, but today we're going to be talking a little bit more about some of the stuff we discussed last time, the brainstorming and strategies we kind of had. I kind of put it into a plan that you would want to follow to achieve the goals that you had that we talked about.
Okay.
So last time we talked, you had about 4 different goals that we kind of really talked about, and that was eating breakfast every morning. Not stress eating as much, eating at home and not going out to eat as often, and then maybe portion controlling to lose weight, to try and cut back on your food intake and everything a little bit from what you had been doing before. So I was just curious to see if you had done any more thinking about it, and maybe had come up with some more strategies that you'd like to tell me we could talk about.
Yeah, actually, so, well, I'll probably have like 10 ideas for you.
Okay.
I guess like the biggest one, or the first one off the top of my head, would be like portion control for weight loss.
Okay.
So with portion control, I mean in like a couple different sense or ways, I guess. So the first one would be like having smaller plates at dinner, lunch, being extremely conscientious of it. I think one of the things we talked about, like literally measuring out with a cup the stuff I'm eating. Yep. Whether at home or at work. So I know it sounds kind of tacky, but just until like I get comfortable with it.
Yeah, I think that's a great idea. Measuring it out with measuring cups at home. Maybe not necessarily at work. You might not have to.
Yeah.
You just practice more for dinners at home and everything. Maybe you can bring lunch. So you've already got it portioned. But I think measuring cups at home is a great idea. One other thing I could say is like when you're looking at your plates, if you're using the same plates, same bowls, same cups every single time you eat. Once you see it, you can eyeball it and kind of be like, oh, I poured this much milk. Like, oh, I know that's a cup of milk because it comes up to here on this plate. Oh, I know that's a cup of cereal because it comes up to here on this bowl. So kind of using the same stuff every time is also going to be really helpful for you to know. So you don't have to, this is 1/4 cup of whatever kind of thing every time you measure out food.
That'll help a lot. And I think, too, with like meal prepping, like being able to measure it out in that sense as well, right?
Yep, that's a great idea for meal prepping because that way you don't have to think about it. You know it's exactly the portions you need. And because you've already done it and it's already ready to go, that's a great idea especially for lunches and dinners. Even if you want to, dinners you can be a little bit more flexible with. Like if you want to cook that night, definitely. But I think taking food to work that way is a really great idea.
Okay, sweet. Like one of the second ideas would be simply eating breakfast in the morning. Simply put.
Yeah, I remember you mentioned that you just don't eat breakfast anymore, so that's something you definitely wanted to work on.
I think we talked about, we'll just talk about, meal prepping. I could prep the night before for breakfast, because I am hey, I get up, grab a cup of coffee, hit the door, let's go to work kind of thing. So I could prep the night before. The only thing I don't like about that is it does take time away from my evening, and I am pretty tired after working, a 10 to 12-hour day.
Yes. So I do understand that, but we want to try and get you to eat breakfast, like we talked about, just trying to find some new ways.
What if I did, I could just do a protein shake every morning. Wouldn't that be good for you?
Some days I think that would be okay. If you just wanted to grab something quick, but I want to try and stress to you using foods, not just a meal replacement drink. For breakfast, we want to try and get at least 3 of the 5 food groups for a breakfast trio. Get some protein, dairy, and fruit. Protein, dairy, and grains. Just trying to get a mixture of everything. And like you said, you don't have time in the evenings. You don't want to because you're at home, you want to relax, which is totally understandable. But if you started doing that at night, prepping your breakfast for the next morning, sticking it in the fridge, the more you do it, the faster you'll be, the more you'll know exactly what to put together, and then it probably won't take up as much time in the evening anymore.
Okay.
And if you wanted to, you could probably prep a few breakfasts at once. You have 4 in the fridge, so you don't have to do it every single night of the week. Maybe you do it twice a week. So you're not every evening, you're not, having to prep breakfast and make dinner, but sometimes you'll have, so you can prep maybe twice and have it for the rest of the week. Nice. I think that'd be a great idea. Because we do want you to, start eating breakfast in the morning, because we talked a little about last time why it would be important to start eating breakfast.
So even if I did a smaller breakfast, for the mornings, and then maybe have a midday snack, just so I'm not eating as much as at lunch, right? Just so I'm understanding.
Yeah, that's what we talked about last time for sure. I remember you mentioned that you're just not hungry, and I have days where I'm like that too, or I don't like to eat so early when I wake up. So definitely, maybe having a little snack, a little piece of fruit and some almonds or some cheese, something to tide you over, because like you said from last time, it'll keep you from overeating at lunch because you're so hungry from the night before because you skipped breakfast.
Mm-hmm.
You're probably going to eat more at lunch.
Just starving. Gotcha.
Yeah, so I think, having a little bit of snack, something that you mentioned you got a fridge at work. Maybe you could just bring some stuff or have those things in there just to throw in. You can pull out in the mornings and have a little quick snack.
Oh, that's a really good idea. I like that a lot. Okay. I think probably the next thing that really stood out to me is that I'd like to really get into would be eating at home more.
Okay.
I guess, simply put, it's probably kind of embarrassing, but, I need help at a grocery store.
Mm-hmm.
There's so many options. There's so many items. Mm-hmm. How do I know what's really good that I'm putting into my body? How do I know what's not? I have a ton of questions, where do I even find certain foods or things? Something like that.
Okay. No, definitely. I remember you telling me in our first meeting how you just moved out a few months ago, so it's all new. You probably didn't do a whole lot of the shopping since you heard your mom prepped the food for you guys and made all the meals. So it's definitely something new, and everyone has to learn, as you become an adult and you're on your own. And it's definitely something that we can work on together. If we can set up a time to where we could go to a grocery store together and we can walk around, talk about different things, show you where stuff is at, just so you kind of know exactly where things are, best prices. We can look at budgeting even if you would want to.
Okay, yeah, absolutely.
Things like that.
Could we also do maybe weekly meal or menu planning as well?
Yeah, we could definitely
really
have
good, rock solid.
Of course, we could definitely have a meeting to sit down and talk about what menu planning would be like, what it could look like, and we can make one together, and then you can go home and alter it, change it, and I can check back in with you whenever you need to maybe see, so you can maybe come put it on your own. I can look at it and see what kind of adjustments we need to make, but I think that's a great idea to plan a menu for your whole week, so that way you know exactly what you need to buy at the grocery store. You're not buying anything extra, really. Mm-hmm. You're not spending more money than normal. Just, I need these things, and that's it. And one thing I would like to tell you also for grocery shopping, never go when you're hungry.
Ooh,
because when you're that chocolate milk and that piece of that package of jerky looks really good right now. I can snack on that because you snack on something like that. It's very common that when people go in there hungry, they end up buying more than they actually need because they're so hungry. They're like, oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good. Oh, that looks good too, but not buying their actual groceries.
I'm guilty of that, yeah.
And everyone is, I think, is guilty a little bit of that. But we can definitely set up a time if you'd like to go to a grocery store, kind of walk around, talk about everything.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know too, with menu planning, that'll definitely help with menu planning and meal prepping, and the meal prepping will continue to help with portion control as well, which we talked about earlier. I still really like that idea. I know it'll be hard at first, but I know with portion control, it's going to be way better for me in the long run.
Yeah. Do you think you could apply the portion control thing, going back to the portion control? Do you think you could apply that maybe to when you eat out at restaurants, when you do eat out? Do you think...
Ordering a half size of something. Yeah, absolutely.
Another thing for that is maybe, you get that, 12-ounce sirloin or whatever from the restaurant. Maybe, eating half and then asking for a box and taking the rest home. And then you have a meal for the next night.
Yep.
So it's definitely a thing. Asking for, fresh salads, asking for pieces of fruit instead of french fries, and maybe instead of double mashed potatoes, you have, a baked potato and a salad.
Okay.
Yeah, so there's definitely ways to do portion control without your measuring cups out at places too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
So with a menu, right, or a meal, they involve obviously recipes. I don't have a lot of cooking experience. I haven't done a lot of cooking on my own.
Yeah.
That's something else I probably need help with, either cooking classes or if you could teach me how to cook. I don't know if you have something here in your facility.
Okay.
That would help out. Is that an option?
That's definitely an option. But we have there's access to recipes everywhere, and online there's millions, and definitely you're looking at the content of them. You can't just pick any kind of recipe off there. You want to look at exactly what ingredients are in it, trying to find the best foods for you. But there's definitely resources to set you up with cooking classes, so you can kind of go learn some skills. And honestly, I love watching Food Network because then you're just kind of seeing things, you're learning new terminology, kind of with stuff. If your mom's a great cook, maybe going and be hey mom, how do I do this? And kind of teaching like that. So if you have other people that you can reach out to also, but we could definitely set you up with find a cooking course or kitchen, basically learning anything about the kitchen kind of a thing. We can probably figure that out and find something that's doing it. I know there's lots of places that offer that kind of a thing.
Nice. I know that would definitely lower my stress level a lot with it. So, and speaking of stress, that was one of the last things that I think we talked about was just stress eating, with the job.
Okay.
Crap, what was it? I think it was removing my candy jar.
Oh yeah, we did talk about that.
Removing the junk food from it.
Yeah,
like getting the buy-in from my team members and employees. Like I think, well, that would help. It'd be tough, but I think that'd be.
I think that's a great idea. Definitely removing the temptation from your eyes, like from it's out of your line of vision. It's out of the office. You're not gonna go search. Like if you just tucked it away, you'd probably go searching for it. At some point. So just getting rid of it completely, I think that's a great idea. And I think what you said about getting your team members on board and being like, hey, listen, I'm doing this for me. Like, I would want some support from you guys. So, like, you have access to my snack. Like, I have snacks that are healthy that you guys can have also. I'm just not going to have candy anymore.
Okay.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yep.
And I think, too, like, at work, it's hard to find different stress outlets.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah.
Right, like, the gym's a big one. I'm just wondering, like, if you had any suggestions or just, like, an outside perspective. I guess you could always, like, I'm feeling stressed, just stop what I'm doing and just quick run around the store or something, but...
Yeah. No, there's a bunch of different ways, like I know people who have done, they do, like, maybe, like, a 5-minute, like, deep breathing meditation kind of thing, just a real quick one to kind of, like, clear everything out, deep breaths, calm down, relax a little bit. But I like what you said, like, walk a loop around the store, like, cool your brain off, and just kind of take that stress out of there. Okay. But, yeah, that's a good idea also.
Nice.
So for this plan that we'd like to start on a little bit, just to start trying stuff out, for your portion controlling, I think that what you said about meal prepping is a great idea.
Okay.
And so then you've measured everything out and practicing with your measuring cups. I think that is our first step in your plan. I think that's a great idea. For the breakfast part, I think you're prepping the night before or even eating small stuff in the morning is going to be your best bet. Okay. I would really like to see you at some point, eating breakfast every morning, maybe a little bit more, so you're adjusted to it, so you're eating it 7 a.m., before you're having lunch. So I'd really like to see you eat in the mornings, but I think prepping is going to be a great thing also for breakfast. For the eating out less and eating at home more, we could definitely do the grocery store tour. I think that's number one for that. We're definitely going to be taking a tour. We'll talk about everything.
Sweet.
And then menu planning is going to be the best one for you because then it gives you a guide of what you need to take right into the grocery store and what you need to pick up. And for the stress eating, I think, number one, you need to remove that stuff from your office. Okay. And just kind of see how that goes. Like, you don't even have to implement as, many healthy snacks to your employees just yet, because that might be a little bit expensive, but for you, have it out there and be like, hey, this is just how it's going to be now, kind of thing. And then you can slowly maybe work toward that. Okay. But I think that those are all great ideas, and this is going to be a plan. Do you think this is a plan that you could maybe follow?
And
start working on?
I'll probably need, a little encouragement. When the chocolate candy bar staring me in the eyes, I might get weak in the knees, but I definitely think this is something that very attainable, and it's definitely suited, for me, not for anyone else, not for everyone, but for me personally, and I really like that. Okay, good. I'm glad that you came up with so many great ideas. There's nothing that I thought was a bad idea, so that's really great that you did great brainstorming, and I appreciate you meeting me again. We're going to be checking back in a little bit, see how everything is going, and then maybe adjust and go from there. Awesome. Sounds good. Thank you.